Yes.
All right, so scaling value from IIoT, scene 1. All right, so over the last 8 years when I've been working with industrial customers on Internet of Things applications and production mainly, all the times there was one question coming up from the customer. So what does it take to really generate value out of Internet of Things? And as I discussed it several times, we started a series now in order to explain you what we think about it here at Industry Reply and AXULUS and how we can address that topic. So let me start with two, for me, always striking statistics on it. Yeah? So the first question is, when you ask customers and industrial leaders, is IIoT the future? So will IIoT prevail and help industry to get advanced, save costs, be more flexible? You get a very striking answer, right? So is IIoT the future? The answer is, very strikingly, yes. Yeah? So around about, I would say 90%, 90% yes, 90% of our customers say IoT is a future technology. We want to deploy it, we need it in order to be competitive in the future. Now this might not be surprising given all the hype on Internet of Things and general Internet. But the second statistics for me is now even more interesting. So the next question that I ask is, so where do you stand, right? Where do we stand with IoT? Stand on IoT. Then the interesting answer here is, or statistics is, that in search for the use case, it means for a problem they want to solve with it, are striking around about 80% of the customers, right? So 80% of the customers are searching for the problem, the concrete use case they want to address with IoT. Now, another 15% of the customers, they define the problem they want to solve and they build a so-called proof of concept, right? So they try it out once. They build up one stand, they build up one installation with IoT and showcase one use case. And the remaining 5%, mere 5% of the customers went through the cycle and start to scale Internet of Things. Now this shows me that there's a huge gap between what we assume Internet of Things can do and what it actually does in the field today. And that has been, for us here, the driver to really think hard about what does it take to overcome this gap. If this gap is not closed, Internet of Things doesn't have a chance, right? If you keep on searching for use cases and value add examples of what we can do with it versus what we already have installed in all the shop floors and plants in the world, this will not fly. Now, the answer on a very high level, abstract level, which I will guide you through also over the next series, is that I think what it takes to overcome this gap are 3 elements. Now, the first element, so of course you need a use case, right? Technology doesn't help you if you don't know what problem you want to solve and what value add you want to generate out of that. Now, there are 2 ingredients to the use case which I think are important. So the first thing is, it needs to be concrete, right? I've seen a lot of discussions over the last 7-8 years on a very generic level. Condition monitoring, predictive maintenance, artificial intelligence. Now this is an interesting discussion level, but at the end of the day it needs to go down to a level that a press line operator that stands in front of a press and needs to operate this press needs to be able to go from 6 lifts per minute to 7 lifts per minute. If IoT can help him to achieve that, then I understand and he understands what the value add is, right? Now the second element to that use case, of course, given that, is that there needs to be a well-defined value add attached to it. It needs to be quantifiable, measurable. So what does the solution do for me? If that's not the case, it's very hard to convince anybody to deploy it in an existing production environment. And these are the 2 main ingredients to a use case. Concrete and a value add. Now that's the first element, first answer to the question, what does it take? Then of course once I have a use case, the second element to scaling value from IIoT is I need to build and operate a solution, right? So that means that, with all the technology which is out there nowadays, call it connectivity, edge, cloud, APIs, artificial intelligence, someone needs to build a technological IoT stack that addresses this use case and can demonstrate that the value add is generated with that solution. Now, important here is, so it's IIoT technology, that's what I was saying. But the second big thing here is, I think, which changed over the last 10, 15 years is, I mean, IIoT is a modular technology by its heart, right? So all the monolithic solutions that have been developed in previous manufacturing execution systems or information systems, this time has passed. We are now talking about modular technology which can be combined via well-defined interfaces, like APIs, in order to recreate a specific solution for a specific use case. All right, doing that at scale and building that, that's for me the second element. Now the third element, which has been in my experience over the last 8 years vastly overlooked, is it doesn't help me if I build one solution once on one single location on the planet. The problem is, if I address this press line challenge and build a solution which allows an operator to go from 6 to 7 lifts, for example, then I want to scale it across all the press lines which are in the world, right? So the third element is I need to be able to replicate the solution and install it locally on all sites where we have the same problem. Now, this replication installation sounds easy. In an industrial production environment, it's not easy at all. You always find different setups, different technological implementations on different plants. It starts with, when is there a window to install a solution? I mean, these plants are built to produce and not to install new technology. Firmware versions, communication standards, people, processes, all that is different. Nevertheless, if I have built once a solution, I need to be able to replicate and install it somewhere where the same problem is prevailing. Otherwise, I cannot reap the benefit and the value out of this. So this replication installation piece is for me the third element. And as I mentioned, I mean, it needs to be scalable, right? So it doesn't help me if every time I want to install an IoT solution, I need to send in 10 people of a service team that do coding and system integration and all that by themselves. And I think it needs to be ideally in a self-service mode. That means the teams, the experts, the people that work with the solution later on need to be able to install it and maintain it by themselves, right? It doesn't help if somebody installs something on a press line and the press line operator is not part of that. They need to operate it, they need to reap the benefits out of that. And that's how self-service and scalability is so important in rolling it out. Now, of course, this is interconnected, right? If I have a well-defined use case which is concrete, has an attached value add, somebody can decide I build a solution against it and also can calculate the business case against it. If I have it built once, then in principle I could roll it out, go to each and every site which has the same problem and install a solution. And now the last thing I will draw in here is, of course, if I have a successful installation somewhere in my production network which demonstrates a value add, this will drive people to think about IoT by themselves, right? Any operator has efficiency gains, right? And if he hears from his neighbor, hey, I had IoT and it helped me solve a problem, they will start to think about their use case. So, okay, it works in a press line, can I use it from a paint shop? Is there some combination of things which can be addressed by IoT that helps me generate my efficiency target, my value add target? And this circle, of course, as this starts to happen, that is a self-reinforcing circle that then generates value from Internet of Things at scale. Now, if you ask me, where are the problems today? The problems, in my opinion, is not the technology. You always can combine certain elements, you can code something, you can build a solution for a use case. I think the first and foremost problem is, how do we find the use cases? I mean, as you can see, 80% of our customers are still looking for that. So how do you generate use cases which are concrete and have an attached value add to that? And the second big challenge is, how do I replicate POCs and solutions I build at once and install them in a very heterogeneous, complex production industrial environment? And these are the two challenges I see. It's not the technology. It's rather, how do I generate use cases which I can build solutions against, and how can I replicate the solutions and change people's behavior working with that? And these two challenges, we will definitely identify and talk much more about it in the next sessions when we explain how we overcome these challenges. Thank you very much for that, and looking forward to see you in the next session. Thanks.